Welcome, Alex. Welcome to Travel Connections.
Thanks. Hi, Mom.
It's so fun to have you here. It is just such a perfect way for us to talk about the Alaskan cruise with my cruise partner.
That is me and was me. No, and I'm delighted to be here. And yeah, what a fun excuse to do this together.
Well, when we decided to go, for everyone, my husband couldn't go, and my daughter and I live here in Seattle, and we thought we need to take a moment and take this opportunity to travel together. We haven't been anywhere since what, Lake Chelan?
Yeah, whenever that was a long time ago, 2017, 2016, 2015, I don't know.
It was time. And I'm really glad that your husband stayed home with the twins and you were able to get away. And it was wonderful. It was
It really
so
was.
wonderful.
It was. Yeah, it was a wonderful, opportunity and 7 days away. And yes, the fact that my husband could handle all of that, and he did wonderfully. But yeah, it was a dream.
It was, well, I had never been on an ocean cruise. I've
Yeah.
only been on two river cruises with Viking. And you, to my knowledge, have never been on an ocean cruise before. Is that correct?
No, like barely ever been on a boat. So really, it was, yeah, no, first experience. And yeah.
So what did you think it was going to be like? And then let's talk about how great it really was.
Yeah. I don't, looking back on it, I don't know what I had expected. Um, uh, and it definitely, I would say exceeded my expectations. But I think I thought it was kind of like a hotel in the ocean, but I didn't really give it much thought than that. And then, getting there, experiencing, how big the ship is, how beautiful it is, how much, architecturally involved it is. It is a marvel. Like it's wild.
That's the way I felt. It is the most enormous vessel I have ever seen in my life. It
Yeah.
goes for blocks.
Yeah. hmm Yeah. It's like a building turned sideways.
It is like a building turned sideways. I couldn't get over that. And it was kind of funny. I mean, the truth is, when we both got there, it was raining sideways.
Yes, that too.
And we were getting drenched, and we were trying to figure out where to go and where to drop our bags. It was kind of madness.
Yes.
And we're both like, and I'm thinking, what is she thinking? What is she thinking? Were you thinking the same thing?
Yeah. I think, I knew we were going to plow ahead, but
Right.
it was a lot. And then, because when you entered the ship, and this is something we learned after the fact, but on the day you set sail, they only open certain parts of the ship to everyone coming aboard. And so because of that, there just isn't enough space for everybody. Like every table's taken, every seat is taken. There's people starting to drink. There's people like everywhere. And then you kind of think, oh my gosh, I'm going to be with people everywhere for 7 days. It's definitely not like that. But the first impression is, oh my gosh, so many people.
Well, and that's exactly the way I thought. I was like, I don't know if I can do this.
Yeah. Turn it around. Gotta go. Yeah.
Like, our room was exactly what I expected. It was lovely. It had a little balcony, had a nice bathroom. There's plenty of room for the two of us and all of our stuff. And the Viking ship, the only comparison I have, it was very, very similar. But the actual mass of this ship, it was like, well, we both talked about this. It was like Vegas. You're walking down hallways that just go forever. And there's a restaurant and another restaurant and and I'm thinking, how are we going to do? I don't know where I am. Where's the map? Where's the map?
I know. Yeah. And luckily you do figure it out quickly, and I will give them credit. I mean, the way that the space is oriented, like some of the main areas, there's like one main bar in the middle, and there's this beautiful bar at the end of the ship that's kind of like a seating area too. But they open up the space so it is multi-level. And so you have, either skylight or several balconies, and you have kind of the illusion of more space or openness because of how they do it. And it's really amazing.
Well, that's a really, really good point. Let's talk about the design. So
Yeah.
we were on the Celebrity Edge, and our friends Anne and Steve Teagat of Postcard Jar, they're the ones that introduced me to cruising. They've been on like 25 cruises and they know everything. And they're like, this is the one. This is the one. If you're going to try this, Suzanne, this is the one for you to try. And it was designed by Nate Berkus, who is a designer that you and I are familiar with. We don't know exactly which things Nate did, but you could kind of tell from the aesthetic of some of the restaurants and spaces. But let's talk about that. I was kind of blown away by the sophisticated design.
Totally. Really beautiful. And so how many restaurants are there on the ship? Like 8, 9, 10? I mean, we can fact check it, but there's multiple areas for you to eat food in. And each restaurant has its own vibe, has its own seating, has its own table setting, has its own decor, the type of food. And so like, yeah, architectural wise, I think did a good job on this ship really bringing the outside in too. So like Eden was in the back and it's, multi-level, like I had mentioned, but there's a lot of like real plants. There's a lot of greens and, deep leathers and really cool ornate furniture and like this kind of bird's nest area, and the glassware matches the decor as well. Like they had etched glassware, and the martinis were different at Eden compared to like the restaurant Blue. And so it was really fun to see each kind of personality of the area. But like we could go and have fun in the evening at Eden, but then we could go to the beautiful what was the name of the cafe that we went to in the middle?
Cafe Fiore?
Close. But yeah, so in the middle of the ship, there was this beautiful...
Middle of the ship, like a tea room.
Yeah.
It was beautiful.
It was awesome. And they have their own little teapots and ways of serving their drinks. And so, yeah, really cool how it all intertwined. And then on top of that, we did the architectural and art tour, and we learned how much they invest in art on the ship and how much they represent different types of artists and different types of art. So there was like sculptures, there's paintings, there's murals, there's experiential design, like really everything. And frankly, I wouldn't have learned the meaning behind all of them if I didn't take the tour. And I would have missed some because some were hidden. They were meant to be part of the ship and I wouldn't have noticed.
They were part and parcel of seamlessly going into the design of the ship.
Yes.
And I didn't know, and you and I both love art and architecture. I didn't know that this would be such a large element of this cruise. We'll get to Alaska eventually.
Yeah.
As our first, I think we're probably pretty spoiled because as our first experience, it was a 10 out of 10 in design. Mm-hmm. The shapes of the chairs, the shapes of the tables. You and I were studying like the layers of design that they had. And let's just talk about Eden, for example. I think that's probably our favorite. So that's at the back of the ship. And it almost goes 3 floors. It feels like it goes 3 floors.
Where?
It's very kind of Adam and Eve kind of meets mid-century boho kind of.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm on the fly here, but but rusts and yellows and golds and browns and greens and then there was this, oh my gosh, talk about the walkway that goes all the way to the back of the ship. You take it and describe that. That was insane.
Well, so it's floor to ceiling windows that you mentioned, like 3 stories high. And then the walkway goes up diagonally to take you across all those levels. And they have seating on them. So you can be, someone walking by, you could have a cocktail looking out and you can hear the music behind you. You could see the food down below. Like it's really amazing. And again, it feels spacious. Like I think... And maybe thinking back on that too, I was worried that I might feel claustrophobic on the ship, and I really didn't feel that way. I really didn't.
Mm-mm. I didn't even feel claustrophobic in our room. But
Hmm.
you move around the ship a lot, and just anyways, the design of it was extraordinary, and we are only literally touching the tip of the proverbial iceberg. So we have to use that joke because we were on our way to Alaska. Um, let's talk about the food. We can again, not expecting. I expected to like the food. I expected to like it. I expected it to be fine.
Yeah.
What did you think of the food?
Oh, I thought it was great. I mean, really blew me away. And again, the options, the fact like, and we were lucky enough to get a behind the scenes tour too of the galleys and understanding how they order the food, how they orchestrate it, the thousands upon thousands of pounds of food they order and why, and like how they have 3 months worth of food on the ship. Like it's wild.
Yes.
And a well-oiled machine. But the quality, like everything was immaculate, like everything was clean, everything tasted delicious. The French food had, its own way of doing things. Then there was like sushi, and then there was, small plates. And then, and if you didn't like something, they would alter it. Like it's really, they gave you so much choice. And that to me is incredible. Like they went above and beyond and were willing to explain anything, offer anything. And then just, as someone showing up, so many options to choose from, no matter the meal.
I had no idea we would have that many options. Now, we had something called Aqua Class, which is a class of stateroom. And it was recommended by our friends, Ann and Steve, because it allows you to be a part of a special restaurant called Blue. She's like, you're going to love it. It's your kind of place. Oh, she nailed it like so well. We're talking eating on fine china and all the little doodads that I love at the table, the little small spoons, the butter knife, the extra plates for this. And anytime you'd ask for something, they would bring it to you like in this porcelain cup on a saucer. And I'm like, I love this. But the food was so good. It was grilled fish and veggies. And I didn't think the portions were crazy big, but they weren't
No.
too small. And if you wanted to eat something else, you would. And
Yeah.
and the service is so accommodating.
Yes. Yeah. They really catered to whatever you needed. And I mean, for breakfast, gosh, you could have a yogurt parfait and then some sliced fruit and then, an egg white omelet with these vegetables and then a side of bacon, like really like whole range. And then I think what was nice too, because again, I didn't know what to expect, but every meal is a new menu. Like they don't serve you the same stuff over and over and over again. I'm like, what? You don't have the option of like chicken and potatoes every night? It's a different thing? Like that's amazing.
Up at the top of the shift, they had this grand cafe. The name is escaping me right now, but that's where we had our first lunch. And that's when we're like, oh my God, there are so many people here. But again, there is space for everyone. There's pizza, there's Latin, there's Asian food, there's Italian food, there's salads. The salads. Okay, they get an A+, they get a 10 from me for salads.
Yeah, totally. Well, and you're talking about the buffet because you're right. So
Yes,
there's like
buffet.
there's one full level that is pretty much the buffet that you could
Correct.
eat most hours of the day, and then there are little restaurants tucked everywhere. But yeah, the
Correct.
buffet, like again, the types of meals and what they had available to you changed every day. Like there's a Caesar salad station, there's types of enchiladas, and then the next day there's types of mac and cheese, and then the next day there's types of I don't know, hummus, like literally everything.
I don't know how they do. I don't know how they stay organized. I know it's not my problem to figure
Right.
that out. But it is remarkable
Yes.
what they were able to do. And to me, it looks pretty seamless.
Mm-hmm.
It's done on time and everything. So there was the cafe, the coffee cafe that I'm not remembering the name of, but we would go there almost every day, at least once a day.
Yes.
And if you wanted a pot of tea, you had a pot of tea and you could choose a cake or you could choose a cookie. And I loved it so much. And there were high back chairs and we were looking out over Alaska or out over the water. it was just dreamy. And you and I love to go to tea. Like, what? They offer tea?
We got to do it every day. I know. Yeah. The whether or not we were in port, it was great. Yeah.
You didn't care. We're like, tea? Yeah. What time is it?
Yeah. And we bring our books. Yeah. It was lovely.
It was lovely. And I remember you saying, you're like, look, if I can just read my book and have some tea, I'm going to be happy. And I think the cruise turned out to be way more than that.
Totally.
But, oh my gosh, I loved the food there. And we had sushi one night. That was really cool. And then the nighttime entertainment, we had a routine. After we'd have our dinner, we would go to Eden where they had live entertainment, and they were excellent.
Yeah, they were.
They did covers for virtually anybody that you know, and I thought they were excellent. And they were lovely people. We got a chance to meet them also, and people hung out. I mean, people did some drinking on that ship, for sure.
Yeah, they did. Yeah. And I think for people who are considering cruising in general, it is great for big groups. Like that's something I noticed. And we met a lot of people who were a part of a reunion, of a family get together, of a friend's trip. And you could do that really easily where you have 10, 15, even 20 people. And the common areas are big enough to congregate. Everyone can have a drink, everyone can eat together. Like it's really quite amazing that it can do that.
Well, I love the multi-generational aspect of this. As a family, we did another multi-generational trip where we went to Italy, and your grandmother was there. And so then it was your grandmother, and then your dad and I, and then our kids and their, at the time, significant others. And we had a blast going with 3 different generations. And I saw that on the ship. I loved seeing that. Sometimes people had T-shirts. And, so they would designate their own group with their T-shirts. And I loved that, just watching other families, just enjoying each other, because you don't have to do anything.
No.
Everything's done for you.
Yeah. It's so nice. Oh my gosh. Yeah. Just to be able to show up.
Well, we did go to this beautiful place called Alaska. So let's talk about the Alaska part of all of this. So you leave Seattle, and we're at sea for one day, and then we kept busy. I can't remember what we did on that first day, but we kept busy on the sea day. Yeah. And then we landed in Ketchikan.
Yes. Ketchikan was the first stop. Yep.
Yeah. And that's the gold rush town.
Yeah.
You want to give me some color there?
Yeah. I mean, gosh, what a fun introduction. Even with it pouring down rain, we were able to see the downtown area.
Yeah, in quotes, it's very small.
Yes. But there's, all of these shops that were, people's homes at different times, saloons. They were all on stilts, and it's kind of over this rocky river that leads into the ocean. And so that's really cool. And there's this whole trail that takes you through all of the different houses / shops, and then you can go further up the hill. So it's really, again, accessible to all sorts of people. Like if you just want to go to the shops, there's tons of shops downtown. If you want to learn about the history, there are tours that you can hop on when you get there. There's also a ton of places to read. There's, little placards everywhere that'll tell you the history of the home. And so you can do a self-guided tour. You and I just kind of went for it that day, and we walked along, the shore there. And then we made our way up to, there's this beautiful history museum near the salmon hatchery. And there's these totem poles that we saw, which were
so cool. Yeah.
So cool. And this little park that you could easily see where the salmon would swim upstream. There weren't any at the time, but
we were a little early for the salmon run, but it was still really cool. It was all set up for that. So I can imagine what it would be like if you went in July or August,
Totally. Yeah. We went to a 100-year-old restaurant that had seriously amazing clam chowder.
Yes.
And so, yeah, it was what a lovely, what was it, 5 hours that we were there?
But there wasn't a whole, there's not a whole lot to do, but it was just plenty. It was plenty for what we wanted to see. And just seeing the Alaskan Gold Rush, the history there, in Alaska was pretty special. I thought that was cool. And then in Skagway, same thing. And I didn't know this till I studied it a little bit further, but these cities are not easily reachable. Some of them not reachable at all unless by water or by air.
Right.
So it's not like we could have gone there if we wanted to. If we hadn't been on that cruise, we never would have seen these towns.
That's right.
And they were quite charming and historic.
Yeah, they were. It was really, really fun, to hear the stories of how the towns came to be, and the people that made it rich, and the folks that went home where they like didn't make it rich but fell in love with the beauty and decided to stay. I'm like, I get all of that. And they cruise. So the ship, like we said, is enormous, but amazingly, it can go into these fjords, which is like, the highest high mountains right down to water. And they're all, the topography that's been carved by glaciers. And that's really unique to see as well.
Exactly. Well, speaking of glaciers, so we had one of those travel moments, like, I will never forget this as long as I live. And it makes me teary thinking about it, but we both cried. We went to Dawes Glacier. It was like a Game of Thrones moment for me. I couldn't believe my eyes. The turquoise water, the wall of ice, and we had a sunny, perfect, wind-free day.
Yeah. Yeah, we really loved it.
Tell me what you thought about it. I thought it was marvelous.
Yeah. Well, so the ship itself can only get so close to the glacier, right? Because again, it's still a huge vessel, even like it's limited. So we opted to go on an additional excursion to get closer to the glacier, which to anyone out there, 1,000% worth it. Highly recommend. But so we get there at 6 a.m, and it's still a little cloudy, a little foggy, and then all of a sudden it starts to dissipate as the sun starts to rise, and you see kind of the light come and hit the glacier from afar. And at this point, we're still pretty far away, but it's still spectacular. Like, you're seeing the mountains, you're seeing that water, you're seeing little icebergs. It doesn't look real at all. And then they get you onto these little excursion boats, and then they just start to head towards the glacier itself. And it just becomes more and more breathtaking as time goes on. And it's like another pro tip. I recommend you get on those boats, on the excursion boats, get up to the front as much as possible.
Stay there.
Friends with the captain, because then you get the best views. And that's the whole point of being on those. But yeah, really, it's hard to describe, and pictures do not do it justice. It doesn't.
The magnitude of the beauty is, I've been to Iceland. I've been lucky enough to go to Iceland, which is pretty remarkable. And up until going to see Dawes Glacier, I would say it was nature so big I couldn't imagine it.
Yeah.
But seeing this we got so lucky with the weather. We had glassy water and bright sunshine and these icebergs. And then the captain, he was really sweet. He was talking to us because we were sitting up front and we didn't leave, which I think was really smart. But he even had someone lean over with a net to grab this like enormous clear, glacier ice is clear, and not everyone knows that. I only know that because I went to Iceland. So he brought up a piece of glacier ice, and then they chopped it on the boat, and they offered drinks from it. And it was just so exciting to see that up close and personal.
Yeah. Yeah. It was really
wildlife. I know. See, I don't think the whales tuck all the way back to where the glacier was, but we did see that whole island of sea lions.
Yeah.
I got some great National Geographic photos that day.
Yeah.
The sun was out and they were making these crazy noises.
Yeah. Yeah. 2 of them were fighting over territory because there was a good 20 sea lions on this little craggy rock. But that's crazy too, because you think that you're in the middle of a body of water, you're not going to run into land. And then all of a sudden there's these little islands and they have pockets of seeing sea lions and seeing eagles. And then he kept looking, he's like, look out for bears. We didn't see any bears, but that's a possibility too. So really you can see a whole bunch in places you don't expect.
No, and the nature part, there is a naturalist that's on the ship. Her name was Celia, and she was amazing. I went to a couple of her talks. She did a whole talk. I'm nuts about bald eagles, but that's for another podcast episode. Um,
True.
yes, this is true. We're not going to bore everyone with my bald eagle stuff. But she was amazing, and she would talk about it. So even those people that didn't go on the excursion like we did, which was only, a couple hundred people, it wasn't a lot considering the size of the ship. She did a talk and talked about what we would be seeing. And so people did get to hear all about the nature and the animals. And it's really lovely to have someone so passionate and knowledgeable about nature and the animals right on the ship. I thought that was another unexpected bonus, I thought.
Totally. Yeah. No, I agree. And even, just the knowledge and the willingness to answer questions, and the cruise is committed to everyone having a great experience. They really are.
Mm-hmm. Well, they are also committed to the area and kind of leaving no footprint, even though we're in the water. You can't leave a footprint anyways. But they, years ago, Celia used to say that they would speak on a loudspeaker. So if you were outside the cabin of the ship, they would just blast it out there and they would talk about what you were seeing. But they realized that was affecting the animals. And so they stopped doing that. And so they only will do the commentary inside the cabin. You're welcome to go outside and look. And at the bow of the ship, where the spa level is, where we were, there was a whole deck where the people on the level that we were staying, they got to stand right there.
Yeah.
And the rest of the ship did not. And so that's kind of a hot tip too, I think.
100%. Yeah.
But I love their conservation ideas too. But
yeah, it's so great. And so, to look back, so we were first days at sea, then it was Ketchikan, then it was the Dawes Glacier, then it was a day at sea, and then Skagway.
No, we had Skagway, I think, before the glacier, because we did the glacier from Skagway. And then...
No, Juneau. We missed Juneau. That's
we missed... Folks, we missed Juneau.
We missed Juneau in favor of the Dawes Glacier. Yeah, but that was it. So it was
right.
and then Juneau / the Dawes Glacier,
Right.
Sea Day, Skagway, Sea Day, and then the sleeper hit for me was Victoria.
Now let's talk about it. Yeah.
I mean, gosh, again, talk about a great weather day, but I mean, it just beautiful, slightly windy, very sunny, and way, I don't know, more than I ever thought Victoria to be. For those of you that don't know, Victoria is the capital of British Columbia. Didn't know that.
Well, no.
Not Canadian. But yeah, so I mean, we learned about Canadian history. We learned about, the types of people that live there now, the things that they're focused on, the fact that Victoria is where snowbirds go in Canadian culture, which
that was
super interesting.
A little tour guide. She's like,
oh my gosh,
they call the people that come here, and we're like snowbirds. She's like, oh, you call them that too? She was really cute.
So cute. Just the nicest people. And yeah, we went to the Abukazi Gardens, which also was a really fun, totally unexpected trip. And we learned about this couple who, through crazy circumstances and World War II that had kind of separated them, came together and got married later in life and decided to pour their hearts into this garden that was absolutely incredible. All types of flowers. The rhododendrons were in full bloom at that point in time. And then they have a tea house too. And this wonderful chef put together this beautiful high tea for us, complete with scones and pastries and really, really amazing tea. Gosh, I mean, we just had the most wonderful experience.
Well, and we expected to like it, right?
Yes.
We expected to like it. And everyone always talks about the Empress Hotel and the historic old hotel, which is absolutely lovely. And we did kind of drive by that. The actual bay is absolutely beautiful. And it's been, since I've been there, it's been years. It's been, I updated. What's the word I'm looking for?
There's like new life that's kind of been poured
There's
into it.
right. And so what they've done is they've done mixed use buildings where they have old buildings and they have brand new restaurants inside and stuff. I loved it. I thought it was absolutely gorgeous. And I'm going to definitely go there with Dad from Seattle because it's so easy. It's ridiculously easy to get there now.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. Again, like what a nice little ending to the trip. It was the final night.
It was lovely. And so interesting side fact, I turned to you and said, if Dad and the twins were here and Brent, I think I could have stayed another week.
Yeah.
I never say that. And you were like, I think so too.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you really find your groove. And it took like a day, but I think once you just get into it and say like, okay, I'm just going to live on this ship and figure out what I like and where I want to go and what I want to do. It's really amazing. And yeah, absolutely. If my family was coming on board, we would have stayed another week easily.
It was so easy. And the gym, I was really impressed with the gym. That was really fun to be able to look out over the beautiful ocean and go to this kind of state-of-the-art gym that wasn't crowded. And it's not like I'm a gym rat or anything. It was just so beautiful.
Yeah, to have unobstructed ocean views and the spa below it, also amazing. And just, I mean, I can't get over how nice the staff is on every level. And they like get to know you after like seeing you once. It's really, really great.
And they remember your names. They say, good morning, Miss Suzanne and Miss Alex. I remember Christian. Christian was the young man that would take care of our cabin. And, Steve and Ann had talked about that. They'd said that, you really get to know these people and they really care about your well-being and that you have a great time. And and sincere, I didn't feel like they were doing it because they had to. I felt like they were so sincere about it.
Totally. Yeah.
And let's talk about, before we have to go, which is, I can't even believe 30 minutes has come already. Let's talk about the bartenders.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Oh,
so they're
God.
so cute. So there's this great big, beautiful martini bar that's kind of in the center of the ship, I would say. And our first experience was watching them do like a floor show with like juggling and they're pouring martinis, like multiple ones in multiple glasses.
Yeah.
And
They're called flair bartenders.
oh, that's what they're called?
Yeah, that's flair bartenders. Yeah. And they were like kind of
that's a thing.
performers. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, really, and they make great drinks and they know what they're talking about and they're lovely and remember you. Like the whole thing is really fun. But yeah, they put on a show like every day in that one martini bar for that. And then otherwise, every restaurant or area has its own specialty. So, and you kind of make friends again with like the people that are there and you learn where they're from. And, there's such an international presence on board the cruise too. And so that's really interesting. And you talk about travel, like you get a sense of all these different people from all areas of the world who are either they've come aboard the ship to be the travelers or they work there and also are from a different area of the world.
I believe when we were doing the tour of the galley, the chef that was taking us through said there were 65 different nationalities on the ship.
Wow, I missed that. That's amazing.
I love those little details. We were able to, we took a martini class. That was really fun. And then there was a demonstration class for Baked Alaska. That was just for our group with the Postcard Jar Cruise, Friends Cruise. And then lastly, we got to go to the bridge. That doesn't happen. To see how the ship, I mean, it is impressive. It was way bigger than I thought it would be.
Yeah. And, for people who don't know what the bridge is, because that was me before I went on a ship, but that's where the captain and the officers literally maneuver the ship. So it's their, I don't know, cockpit for lack of a better term, but
right. But it's enormous. And
it's enormous.
Hallways and there's lots of space and very intense people doing their job 24/7.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's amazing. And I this also kind of blew my mind, but it makes sense at the same time. But they manually dock the boat when they get into port. So the captain is literally standing there maneuvering the ship to park it so you can get off of it. Like it's an amazing, amazing.
That was really lovely. That's not a common thing. Again, Steve and Ann arranged that for us, and that was not something that everyone got to do. But I'm so glad that we got to. I'm so glad we took the plunge and did our first cruise, and we did it together.
Yeah.
And I enjoyed my time with you so much, and just being with you because you're so busy. You're a mom of two and you work full time and you're busy. And it was just so nice to have that time together.
It was great. It was a week I'll never forget. And I'm so glad I got to spend the time with you.
Yeah, me too. Thank you, sweetheart. Well, and thank you so much for coming on Travel Connections. I loved your color commentary, and I love that we love the same thing, so it kind of made it easy. But thank you. Thank you for coming, and thank you for going on the cruise with me, sweetheart.
Of course. Thanks, Mom.
Bye, honey.